Hello friends and welcome to this edition. Today we're going to talk about Islam versus the world event. So we're going to talk about that very important subject. Unfortunately, many people have believed the lie that Islam is a peaceful religion. In fact, they say Islam means peace, and that's not true. Islam in Arabic means submit. It's a command. It's commanding you to submit yourself to the rule of Islam and to the rule of the Sharia law. And Islam doesn't mean peace, and Islam has never advocated for peace and never promoted peace. In fact, everywhere Islam goes, it leaves behind a pile of ashes and destruction and misery. That's what Islam is. Islam is a destructive force, and today we're going to talk about the Islam in world events, the relationship between Islam and the important world events such as Crusades, such as Holocaust, such as World War II, and all these things that we're going to talk about. Now, first of all, when Islam was founded in Saudi Arabia by Muhammad in 700 BC almost, what happened was Islam began to spread all over the world, not by basically evangelism or spreading the word. It was by sword. That's why the Saudi Arabia flag is it says there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And then underneath there's a sword. So that was their motto. If you don't believe our message, we're going to treat you with a sword. So it was by force, because Muslims believe, Muhammad believed that the enemies, the infidels, mushriks, they are the people who don't understand. They are God's enemies, and either by force you bring them to godliness or you kill them. And that's their ideology. So that's why they want to bring the whole world under the rule and the reign of Islam. And that's why they commit jihad and they fight and they kill, because Islam has the vision to take over the world and bring the entire world under the submission of Islam. So today we're going to briefly talk about the just a few of events, most important events in human history, and their relationship with Islam since Islam was founding. There are many events took place in history that Islam had a part in or was a part of it. And we're going to talk about it. People are ignorant of those things, and people don't know, and you don't hear those things in history classes. And so, for example, we're going to talk about World War I. In the First World War, the Ottoman Empire, who killed 1.5 million Armenians, known as the Armenian Genocide. The Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Muslim Empire, they killed 1.5 million Armenians. They killed people, they killed Christians, they killed Jews, they killed all kinds of people. And because Islam was trying to take over the world, that empire. But then when they were defeated, because the Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, Germany and Japan, they were the allies, and they were defeated. So what happened was, later on in World War II, during World War II, what happened was Hitler came to power, and he began to basically set his heart to world dominance and began to conquer and basically to kill, to take the Jews, and to basically, Hitler's plan was to kick the Jews out of Europe. He wanted to expel them out of Europe. But then a mufti of Jerusalem named Hajj al-Amini, he came to Hitler and he convinced Hitler to not expel the Jews but to kill them, because he said to Hitler, if you expel them, they come to Israel, they come to Jerusalem. So he said, kill them, burn them. Hitler asked him, what shall I do with them? He said, kill them, burn them. And we're going to show you some pictures of him and Hitler when he came to him and they had a relationship. Some of the pictures of Hitler, as you see in the picture, that's Hitler, and that's Hajj, the Mufti of Jerusalem, Hajj al-Amini. This guy was basically the leader of the Muslim world at that time. He came to Hitler, and Hitler wanted to expel the Jews. That's why he gathered the Jews in ghettos, and he wanted to expel them out of Europe. But then he came and convinced him that if you do that, they'll come to Jerusalem. So he convinced Hitler to kill the Jews. And not only that, he recruited soldiers from Bosnia for Hitler. And so Muslims had a part in Holocaust. And then it goes back to Crusades. You know, as we go further in history, we see in Crusades, you know, how many of you have heard that Crusades, basically it was Christian atrocity? Obama said that. I mean, I think that Christians did many bad things in the name of Christ. And that's completely wrong. Crusades had nothing to do with Christianity. In Crusades, what happened was when the Muslims were taking over the Middle East and coming toward Europe, the Eastern Church sent a message to the Roman Catholic Church and to the Pope Urban, and they urged him They say that they're slaughtering people here. They are killing people here. So Pope Urban came and urged Europeans, not Christians per se, he urged Europeans that if we don't do something about this, they're going to take the whole world and they're going to basically destroy us. So when Muslims were coming to Europe, the Europeans pushed them back and fought against them, and they're known as Crusades, and they pushed them back all the way to Middle East, and they took Jerusalem back from them, and that's known as Crusades. So it's not basically Christians going and killing people, because Christians never kill people. The Bible never commands us to kill people, but Islam does. Quran teaches plainly. Surah 9, verse 29, Muhammad says, kill those who don't believe in Allah. Even if they are Jews or Christians, anybody who doesn't believe in Allah or Islam, kill them. It's a plain verse in and there's no context. In whatever context you put it, when you kill someone because they don't believe in a certain way you believe, that's wrong now and then. So we see that Crusades, even Muslims take over Spain and took over the southern part of France. In France, basically Charles Martel, have you heard of Charlemagne? Charles Martel fought against the Muslims and kicked them out of Europe in the Tours. You probably have heard of the Battle of Tours, where Charles Martel fought Muslims and kicked them out of Tours, the southern part of France. And then in Spain, El Cid, he fought with the Muslims and he kicked the Muslims out of Spain. So see, Muslims were coming to take over Europe, and Europeans pushed them back, and they are known as Crusades. So that's what Crusades are. Inquisition, we see that we hear all about that the Christians basically kill people. They were not Christians, because they were killing people who in fact read the Bible. People who talked about Jesus, they were killed. They were people who basically they were against the Jews, and they were saying that the Jews must be killed because they are not a member of the Catholic Church, not Christians. Because Christians love the Jews. We always have been supportive of the Jews, and we love the Jewish people. When I was a Muslim, I was taught to hate them, to hate Christians and Jews. But now as a Christian, we love the Jews. We love the Muslims even. So there's no such a thing as, Christian atrocity. Christians have never committed atrocity. And don't let the liberals to define or to basically rewrite history for you. So go research. Everything I say to you, you can go research about it. And then we hear about basically in history, we hear about the things that happened, during the World War II. Again, Muslims, helped Hitler. Again, we read about basically the Crusades. We hear about the Armenian Genocide. We hear about the slavery. Have you heard of slavery? People, they complain against the white people that they had slaves, and that's true. Some white people had slaves at that time. But Muslims were the one who started the slavery. They captured the slaves from basically from Africa and sold them to Europeans. The Muslims captured the Africans and sold them to Europeans for money, for gunpowder. So basically, Muslims sold the Africans to the Europeans, and they bought from them gunpowder to fight, to conquer more. So that's what Islam is. Even today, right now, in 2017, end of 2017, beginning of 2018, right now in Libya, Muslims are capturing and selling Africans, black Africans. You can go on the internet and search for the slavery in Libya, and they are selling people. Muslims are selling Africans today. In 21st century, Muslims are basically selling Africans as slaves. Even ISIS, when ISIS took over Iraq and some part of the Iraq and Syria, they began to enslave women, Christian women or Yazidis or non-Muslims, and sold them. They put them in cage, and they sold them as a slave woman, as sex slaves. That's what Islam is, a demonic, evil ideology. Unfortunately, liberals are advocating for Islam. I don't know why a group of people advocate for an ideology that is evil, and they advocate for it, while there's nothing liberal about it. Or maybe it is. Maybe liberal and Islam is the same, because they both are hypocritical. They talk one thing and they do another thing, and then, but Islam does the same thing. It says that, for example, liberals believe in life, that guns should be confiscated and guns should be illegal, but at the same time they support abortion. Islam, the same thing. They kill people and they behead people, and they do it for the sake of Allah. This is idol worshipping. My friends, Islam is fighting to take over the world, and Islam is not a peaceful religion. Crusades, Armenian Genocide, Holocaust, all of these things, Islam had a part. The recent history, we had 9/11, we have, thousands of terrorist attacks in the US and in Europe, and we see that this thing is growing. And so be careful, wake up, and don't believe the lies of the liberal media, and we're going to fight Islam. Islam is not a religion. If you speak against Islam, you are not a racist. You are not a racist. You are not a racist if you speak against Islam, because Islam is not a race. It's an ideology. It's a religion. Well, they say it's a religion, but it's basically a military, and it's a military system trying to take over the world. So be aware and reject and refuse Islam. The Crusades, if the Europeans don't wake up, one day they have to pick up guns and fight with Muslims, and there will be much bloodshed in Europe. There will be much civil war in Europe, and I'm sad to say that. But we have to wake up and be careful. And even already there are no-go zones in Europe, in London, in France. There are places that police cannot go even. So wake up, Europe, wake up, America, wake up, Australia, wake up, Canada, and wake up. So be careful. Even in Brazil, my friends in Brazil said many Muslims are immigrating to Brazil. And I was in St. Thomas recently, and I saw many Muslims, Palestinian Muslims. They came to St. Thomas, and they had a long beard, and they had on their car, they had the Palestinian flag, and they were like playing Quran, and they were basically controlling the cab company there. They had a cab company, and they control the whole thing. So be careful, because one day they take over the whole world. We have to be, at the same time, be respectful and love people, but at the same time, be cautious and be aware. So God bless you. I hope this program has helped you, and write to us if you have a question. I'll be glad to help you. God bless you, and until next program, grace be with you. Amen.